Tech Twice Weekly, episode number 30. Hey everybody, welcome to Tech Twice Weekly for December 2nd, 2014. This is your source for the most important technology news stories and discussion every Monday and Thursday evening. Of course, this is Tuesday and not Monday, but that doesn't mean today's news is any less important. And to cover that important news, I'm your host, Ben White, and with me tonight is my faithful news coverage companion, Eric Fee. Hey man, how's tonight going for you?
Not so good. I got stuff in my eye.
Yeah, you mentioned that pre-show. I recommend eyes with less stuff in them.
Why, thank you.
Just doing what I can, helping you out. I mean, I've got contacts in my eyes, but those work better than dust.
Onward. The news!
To the news. All right, first story of the day comes from TechCrunch, who is covering Mozilla releasing Firefox version 34. The new Firefox update is the first version released with Yahoo as the new default search engine instead of Google Search. Users can still change the default search back to Google or other search services, but time will tell how many users make that choice. Additionally, this update also rolls out Mozilla's WebRTC-powered chat tool, Firefox Hello, which was previously available only in beta. The new chat tool allows users to share audio and video chats with other Firefox users directly through the browser. That being said, Mozilla is still restricting access to the Firefox Hello service to around 10% of Firefox users, so you may still not be able to use the service during peak usage times. Tweaktown is sharing Intel's plans to release small USB-sized computers sometime in 2015 that are intended to be plugged into TVs and monitors. At a recent investor conference, Intel actually showed off some early prototype versions of these devices, but didn't speak to the performance of the devices or what hardware they are using inside of them. The rumors going around point out that Intel's Atom processors are small enough to fit the form factor these devices are using. However, it also could technically be possible that Intel has partnered with an ARM processor manufacturer, although unlikely. As more information about these devices become public, we'll make sure to pass it along. What do you think, Eric? Is there a market for these HDMI output only devices?
Well, we've seen pretty good reception to Chromecast and Miracast devices. We've seen good response to Roku boxes and all that. Why not Intel too?
Do you think they'd be marketing these as like a closed source solution similar to Roku or Chromecast, or more as like a full-fledged small power PC?
Who knows? I don't think Intel's really going to go the route of little teeny appliances. They usually partner with others to get that kind of stuff done. They might just be releasing little teeny PCs, but hey, you can do whatever you want with them.
Yeah, it would be interesting, especially just what the price point they come out at is, because that's strongly going to control whether or not these take off or if they're just a novelty.
I think I saw something about this a month ago or so. Was it the same thing?
I know we were talking about something, about a month ago. I think that was something different. Although they could be related, because if I remember right, the ones we looked at before were only available through ordering from a Chinese manufacturer, or at least a Chinese marketplace. And so it's possible these two things are related, that maybe they had them on sale over there, or a manufacturer they outsourced through was leaking them out for sale without proper branding.
Who knows?
But I look forward to next year and seeing what these come out as.
Yeah, totally.
The BBC reports on Twitter executive Anthony Noto accidentally tweeting a message that was clearly intended to be a private direct message. Although compared to other high-profile accidental tweets, this one was relatively harmless. The tweet itself said, "I think we should buy them. He is on your schedule for December 15th or 16th. We will need to sell him. I have a plan." The tweet was later deleted quickly after it was discovered. So far, Twitter has not made any public statement or released any information on what company they may be thinking about acquiring. GoPro cameras are already one of the most popular accessories for many personal and commercial drone operators, so it only makes sense when Mashable passes along the GoPro announcement that they will be developing their own line of multi-rotor helicopters to carry their cameras. Expected to be priced between $500 to $1,000, these will be considered high-end options in the growing drone marketplace. Now, I know neither one of us are too into drones, Eric, but what do you think of the idea of these high-end drones coming out from GoPro directly compared to these third-party manufacturers making GoPro mounts on their much cheaper uh, drone devices?
I think it'll really be to the purchaser. I mean, if their products are very high quality, which we might expect them to be, they might be a good option for some of the more professional entrepreneurs who are trying to use the footage for making money or for professional production. But I don't know if I'd see a huge rise in sales to indie developers and indie photographers, simply because that kind of price you can get a lot more bang for your buck.
That's true. I hadn't really thought about it. That with that price point, they're probably aiming much more commercially, even though their cameras are aimed at prosumers. It sounds like these things might be aimed even just above the consumer pay grade.
Yeah, well, also I know that GoPro partners with a lot of other companies too to sell their devices in like large quantities. So it's very possible that some companies might be getting them at a bulk discount. Plus, a lot of professionals like to have technical support, phone support, and warranties on a lot of their hardware, especially things that can break and cause damage, can cause $1,000 worth of damage, like a, a quadcopter falling out of the sky and breaking the camera on it. So, I mean, that might be another pull for professional organizations to purchase them.
That would be actually pretty awesome. That would make it a good selling point if they threw in some sort of accidental damage warranty or something like that. And I suppose there's also the chance that these sort of setups would include not only a GoPro with the quadcopter making, a $300 GoPro plus a three, four, $500 quadcopter hits right between that $500 to $1,000 price point if you bundle them together.
Yeah, maybe. I'll be excited to see.
Well, there's some early news coming from PC Gamer on the Windows 10 front. A tweet from Gabriel Owl, the head of Microsoft's Operating Systems Group Data and Fundamentals team, teased native FLAC and MKV support. If you're unfamiliar with these media formats, FLAC is short for Free Lossless Audio Codec. It is an alternative to MP3 for high-quality audio files without the data loss that MP3 suffers. MKV is a container for H.264 video paired with MP4, yet another video standard. All that being said, the main takeaway from this news is that Windows 10 is shaping up to be a much more format-friendly, which is only a good thing. Now, I know you probably have a lot of experience working with alternate media formats. I know we've talked about this before. Are you happy to see Windows natively picking up FLAC and MKV support?
Well, it's kind of a matter of time. I mean, one of the first things we do with our computers is install VLC or a codec pack or something so we can watch basic video. And there's no reason why they couldn't throw it in de facto. And uh, I think it just points to the fact that Microsoft is trying to shoot for Windows 10 to be a true successor to Windows 7 for desktop power users by including these types of things natively. What I can hope for is that they'll also include the ability to play Blu-rays, at least play un unlocked Blu-rays, like for home movies.
Do you think this would make you fire up Windows Media Player if FLAC and MKV support was embedded in it, or would you still turn to trusty old VLC?
Well, there are many other players besides VLC that are pretty good. Media Player Classic is still fairly common with a lot of users, which uses Direct Show, which is like basically the same thing that Windows Media Player uses. And if you have support in Media Player Classic, you have to have support through Direct Show, which is the same thing that Windows Media Player uses. So um, there are many reasons to have that kind of support besides VLC.
Sure, I mean there's definitely that, but do you think it would personally anyway for you, would you turn to the built-in native software if it supported what you wanted to play?
If it worked well, I might. I'm not a big fan of VLC. I like the fact that it works and it plays a lot of formats and it plays them pretty consistently. But I'm not that happy with some of the things it does, like the subtitle support and the interface is pretty weak. It has a lot of areas I think they could improve on. So if those things were embedded and the interface was good, the subtitle support was better, I would probably use it instead of VLC. Yeah.
Yeah, VLC is definitely it's a great Swiss Army knife, but like a Swiss Army knife, it can do a lot of things, but not a lot of things well. Well, CNET is reporting on Pandora's announcement that they are changing up the UI for their mobile app. The goal of the new user interface is to be more simple and minimalist, letting users get to the functions they want more quickly and easily. This redesign is the first major UI change for Pandora in over 2 years and is aimed to directly address their growing user base's feedback on what the mobile app should offer. Right now, the new UI is available to a select number of iOS and Android users in beta, and the plans are to roll it out to all users in the next several months. TechCrunch is covering a recent patent published by the United States Patent and Trademark Office last Friday, revealing that Nintendo is looking to allow emulation of their handheld gaming consoles in a number of different platforms. According to the patent filing, these include seat backs on airplanes and trains, as well as on mobile devices such as smartphones. Don't get too excited yet, though, as Nintendo has previously patented similar information in an effort to protect their intellectual property, so it's possible that despite this news, there could be no consumer-related outcome. I know everyone grew up as big Nintendo fans, even if you haven't bought into Nintendo in a lot of recent years. Would you pick up a official NES or Game Boy emulator on your Nexus?
Eh, I don't play a lot of emulated games on my phone. I just think that the form factor is a little bit weak, and there are plenty of good native games for Android.
But spin it out, I guess. Take it off the phone and maybe put it on Chromecast or something like that. I mean, if you could emulate Nintendo's classic consoles. Do you think there'd be a market for it to have official emulation rather than the homebrew that's been out forever?
Maybe the homebrew for consoles that old is really good, so it might be kind of not not too worth it, unless you can get up past like Dreamcast days. But for older consoles, the emulation is really good because they're really simple. And I don't think there's a huge big reason for me to go purchase one when I can download one very easily that will run any ROM that you can shove in it. Not only that, but you have to have a way to get those ROMs out too, which is another purchase strategy. And a lot of people who really enjoy emulation aren't going to want to purchase everything twice, especially if the prices aren't right.
Right. Because everyone who owns ROMs owns the original cartridges, right?
Well, that's neither here nor there.
Because technically, if you own the ROM copy of the game, it is intended to be for backup purposes only from your original cartridge.
Well, sure, but I have nothing to say about that, because it doesn't really matter where or how people get it. If the Nintendo version isn't somehow better or doesn't provide the experience that someone expects at the price point they want, then they won't use it. And we go back to that discussion we had a few weeks ago about piracy versus the unchanging conglomerates.
Yeah. No, and I think you're right. I think it comes down at the end to how easy it is to get your hands on it, what's the price point, and what's the benefit. Some people, I'm sure there's a small segment that's the non-technical people who are going to see the benefit is I can get my hands on Nintendo classic games without having to fuss with finding ROMs on the internet, downloading them, running the emulator, even though it's not that difficult to do. But I think given the right context, it could have a market. But time will tell. I personally don't expect to see this, except possibly implemented in the seatback concept that was mentioned. I could see Nintendo licensing this out to Delta or Southwest to put in their seatbacks as a touchscreen gaming interface of some kind, but I don't expect to see it come into actual smartphones anytime soon.
That'd be a great way to spend a flight playing Super Mario World.
Right? I mean, I still agree with you though that the interface would be hard to work with because you're not going to get that controller the tactile feedback of pushing those buttons. But oh well.
Well, that's not necessarily true. You can buy USB controllers that have the thing on them.
That's true, but I just don't know how well that would be implemented into a seatback situation if you're on an airplane.
I do know that there are some there. So the idea of a seatback console is not new, and there have been some airplanes built with them that have controllers. They're like a conglomeration between all different kinds of actual controllers. But I mean, there's no reason why it couldn't be done and done well and have a real controller and let people actually have fun while they, hurtle at 500 miles an hour at 10,000 feet.
I'd love to see it. I'd pay a couple of bucks. I mean, hell, I've paid $6 for a beer on a plane that I could have for a $1.50 on the ground. So paying a couple of dollars to play some Super Mario Brothers would totally be in my ballpark.
Totally.
Well, Nintendo, make this dream come true. That's all I can say. Engadget is passing along news from the Wall Street Journal that people familiar with the matter are reporting that the next generation of Google Glass will have Intel inside based on these rumors. And I want to stress, these are just rumors at this point. It appears Intel will be partnering with Google to not only provide the processor inside Google Glass, but also to help market the product for work applications in places like hospitals and manufacturing, where having your hands available is important. At this time, neither Intel or Google have commented on the rumors, however. Last Wednesday, while many people were getting ready for the Thanksgiving holiday in the U.S., President Obama signed into law the E-Label Act. The E-Label Act allows electronics manufacturers to label their products electronically instead of requiring traditional physical labels. This should allow future innovation in the rapidly growing electronics market and potentially aid in the continued reduction in the size of many mobile devices. The legislation had cleared both the House and Senate in September without issue. In gaming news, just announced today, Valve is beginning their public beta test of a built-in broadcast tool being added to their Steam gaming service. This service puts Steam in direct competition for gamers' eyeballs by allowing your friends to jump in and watch when you're playing a game. The service also aims for simplicity, and while it supports users openly broadcasting, it can also be set up to support starting to stream only when a viewer joins in, and stopping the stream when no one is watching. Some features of the streaming tool are available now to all users, while in some cases, such as recording your stream to be watched later, require setting up your Steam client to be switched over to the beta channel. One additional interesting feature for viewers is that streams can be watched either through the Steam software or through Chrome or Firefox web browsers. Had you heard about this announcement yet, Eric?
Just heard about it earlier today. Looked really cool.
Are you a big streamer? Have you published on Twitch or anything in the past?
Nope. I have some YouTube videos of me playing Nexius, though, and about 50 demos I need to record eventually.
Yeah, I think I might have to give this a shot. I mean, I've streamed on Twitch once or twice, but nobody knows who I am, so nobody cares.
I know who
But
you are. I don't care.
oh, shots fired. But I think this is cool. I like the viewable aspect, and I think especially at like LAN parties, it could be really nice to have a projector set up where you can watch somebody playing in a tournament or something like that. I can see having a lot of fun with this.
I think it'd be cool.
Well, that wraps up our stories for tonight and moves us on into our tech toys you wish you could buy. The first one we've got is kind of interesting product being fundraised on Indiegogo. It is called Screens TV, and it is a input box that allows you to combine 5 different HDMI signals to show multiple screens output on a single display. The concept for the device is that you would put all these different inputs in and then arrange them to be laid out on the screen. One example given is maybe you have your DirecTV set-top box bringing in a football game you're watching, and another set-top box on Xfinity bringing in the NASCAR race, a third box from DirecTV bringing in a second football game, and maybe on the edge you've got input from a desktop PC showing Chrome with your fantasy football league. And the box is also designed to let you get the different audio feeds from the box to multiple different audio sources. So technically, in a 5 family member household, each family member could split up the TV into a little chunk and receive their own audio over a smartphone or Bluetooth device, perhaps. Now, I have my questions on how feasible this is or practical this is, but the campaign itself seems to be popular. It's gotten a lot of traction in the media. However, despite all of the attention it's gotten, it's only running at $30,192 of its $200,000 goal. with 11 days left on the campaign. It also, be aware, is a flexible funding campaign, which is an Indiegogo thing that allows the campaign creators to collect all money donated regardless if they reach their goal. What do you think of this idea, Eric? I mean, is this just crazy or does it have an applicable purpose?
Seems like something that rich people have in their house. You know, they got the 70. You've seen the movies and stuff where there's a 70-inch TV or something, and it's got like five things going on, which I find a bit weird. I don't know if I could consume media that way. It just seems like it'd be kind of, input overload. Also, I wonder how it handles HDCP.
According to the information on the um, Indiegogo project, it's not a problem. They've got a beta box, a proof of concept for functionality that they've been demoing to a couple different tech journalism outlets, which apparently works fine. They don't really explain how it handles that, but I mean, I'd have to guess that it just receives the input source, makes the HDCP handshake by keeping the connection over HDMI, and then passing it through to the television.
Yeah, could be shady and stuff inside. No one might not. No one might be asking the question because they don't want to know.
Right, it could be doing some sort of conversion, stripping the HDCP. That's definitely a possibility.
Well, some engineers at Intel demoed and explained how HDCP could be stripped pretty easily from HDMI streams a year or two ago. So could be using something like that. I don't know. I'm just wondering, just musing.
Yeah. One thing that I really like about the idea, though, is I could see commercial application being bars. Right now, every sports bars have one TV set up for each sports game going on, and I could see a sports bar taking advantage of this to split a screen to show a couple of different games, or maybe stats on one edge and the game on another, or something like that. I could see that being pretty popular. At home, I like the idea of the fantasy football split screen they're talking about, doing something like that where I can get additional information. But really, I would just be using the concept of dual monitors smashed into one large display. That's the farthest I could take it.
It could be cool. It might be nice to be able to watch like a documentary and catch up on the news at the same time or something as well, or something like that, or maybe have like a weather display from Weather Channel and I don't know, maybe a stock ticker alongside something boring. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think you're on the right track, but I agree. There's a lot of information overload going on here. There's also the price point. The target price for this is $499. If you're interested, you can get in on one now for $100 off retail at $399. They're expecting to have them shipped in December of 2015. So,
That could be interesting. Yeah, it's that price is not too wild either. Um, so that this could be cool. This could be really cool.
yeah, I mean, it's not something I think I'm going to pull the trigger on, but I like the concept of it.
Agreed.
And personally, I'd hope if this is successful, maybe a more consumer version where they break it out into here's a smaller box that only supports doing two inputs and a little less money or something that way.
Um, One thing I was going to say is that people watching their TV are often using multiple screens at once, but not on the same screen. Usually, I've seen a lot of people watch TV, like put on a movie or a television show or the news or something, and at the same time browse their tablet or check up Facebook on their laptop or whatever. And seeing as how tablets are inexpensive and a lot of people already have them, I'm not sure that the whole multiple screens aspect is going to make too many consumers decide to pick one up for their house.
Well, the next tech toy I've got here, this one is one I wish I'd seen the Kickstarter for earlier. It's called Rocket Skates, and the concept is they are skates for your feet that are powered. Basically, you have a lead skate and a follow skate, and kind of just what it sounds like. You put one foot in front of the other, and they accelerate as you lean forward on them, decelerate as you lean back a little bit, and you drive around instead of walking. These little skates just power you around the office or out and around down the sidewalk, whatever. They have a top speed of 12 miles an hour, which I think is crazy, but they're a real thing. The Kickstarter was successful. It ended funding a little while back. Back in August, it actually ended funding, and they just recently got the early prototypes out to the first 25 backers, um, and so they're starting to hear some reports on them. And all reports so far are positive. The Ars Technica reporter covered them and was really impressed. The one biggest downside is battery life. They lasted about, they said, 20 minutes or so. So they're still working on extending that part of it to make it a little more practical to be an everyday get-around tool. And they're aimed for a price point of around $500. But what do you think? Would you strap these on your feet?
I think they're pretty neat. I don't know if I'd want to pick one up myself, but I think they kind of a really cool little novelty. They don't seem to have much ground clearance. I don't know how well they'd work for going over a terrain that's not perfectly flat. See, because I live in Portland, Oregon, where the roads and sidewalks are complete garbage. So you've got to be able to take some bumps if you're trying to get around. And I think that the battery life is pretty low, but very cool, very kind of novelty, kind of fun type stuff.
Right. I see this in falling into the same category as the Segway, where it's a expensive toy. It can kind of be practical in some applications, but for the most part, it's just a really cool gee whiz toy.
Well, I kind of am thinking like when I was a kid, I knew people that had like gas powered like skateboards and stuff, and I wonder where all that stuff went. I haven't seen one of those in a long time.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. I saw somebody with a homebrew one the other day, but they never really took off, I guess, outside of the 90s.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
All right, well, that brings us to our last tech toy, and that is Plan V. It is a backup charger for your smartphone or other USB charged devices. And the concept of this is really simple. It's a little keychain device, and you flip it open. It's about the size of maybe a bottle opener that you'd carry on most keychains, and it has a little plug for a 9-volt battery to plug in. The concept being that when you're on the go, you probably don't have your backup battery pack, or maybe your backup battery pack is dead. And 9-volt batteries are pretty ubiquitous. They're everywhere. They're cheap to get your hands on. So when you need a charge, you pull this thing out of your pocket on your keyring, plug the micro USB into your smartphone, drop a 9-volt battery on, and in no time you've got some juice in your phone and can actually use your phone until you get to a real charging solution. So it's kind of a band-aid solution for when you're on the go but just need a little bit of juice to get you back home. What do you think? Think this is practical, Eric?
I like the idea, but seeing as how you can get a 1,000 milliamp battery charger thing for your phone for the same price as 9-volt battery, Sounds a little bit ridiculous. 9-volt batteries are not cheap unless you buy them in bulk, which I would know because I have.
It is true. I know part of their selling point on this campaign is that the battery chargers traditionally are bulky, and it's one more thing you have to carry with you, whereas this is designed to be connected to your keyring, making it more convenient. But my first thought looking at this is, I don't know when the last time I had a 9-volt battery on me was.
Yeah, and I wonder, like, some of these like little battery backups are the size of a 9-volt, and it's like yes, the dongle that connects the 9 volts that can fit in my keyring or whatever, but then I have to have a battery somewhere, and it's like I just don't carry 9 volts around.
Right, exactly. I love the idea in principle, but I, I just don't know if I'd ever use it because 9 volts aren't something that I have with me.
I don't carry any type of battery with me other than the one that's in the phone. And if I was going to, then a little tiny, lithium ion little charger pack would probably be about the same size, cost about as much as a pair of batteries from the store, and would be able to do the job all the time. Not only that, but I'm typically, out and about with my car a lot, and I can charge my phone in my car.
Right? Yeah. I like where the direction this project is going. I just don't think they've gotten there yet.
Well, yeah, like I said, I like the idea, but 9 volts, give me a break for the 9-volt stuff.
Right. Well, and it makes me wonder how much power does a 9-volt convert to in milliamp hours?
Probably enough, but the battery cases and spare battery chargers and uh, USB ports being pretty much everywhere, people carrying laptops around. I've even seen people who have e-cigs that can charge their cell phones. It's just like there's a zillion ways to get your phone charged when it's out of juice nowadays. I don't think that, and now that are less expensive and just as reliable as this.
So apparently, a 9-volt battery or 1 volt converts to 1,000 milliamps.
That's not how it works.
That's according to the unit converter I just ran across.
It's not the same thing, man. And every battery is going to be different. Um, a lot of 9 volts that are uh, alkaline will usually have 5 to 600 milliamp hours. Lithium ones can have double that, but they're much more expensive.
According to Google, a typical 9-volt lithium battery has 1,200 milliamp of charge stored in it.
Well, yeah, nominal capacity, brand new type stuff, but also those are twice as expensive or more than an alkaline. And not only that, but the lithium batteries can't support a large output charge at a time, whereas alkalines can take a really brute force hit and they can pump out more. They can pump out more juice for a longer period of time.
So I think we file this in good idea, but not practical. That sound about right?
Yeah, well, it's just like if you look on Amazon for a backup battery, you can find them that are fairly pocketable that have like 2,000 milliamps for $20 or something. You know, and so it's kind of hard to justify buying a $6 or $7 9 volt from the corner store to charge your phone more than once, and then you have to buy the charging thing anyways.
Right. And the whole premise of this product being useful from the Kickstarter is on the predication that carrying a battery pack is bulky and keeping it charged is a difficult task. If those two things aren't true, then the product itself is rendered useless.
Well, I'd just like to point out that you have to have a 9 volt, and that just killed it for me.
And I wonder, because the project is based out of Australia, if maybe culturally 9 volts are still more common in Australia for some reason. I mean, I know U.S. and Australia and around the globe have our cultural differences, but I didn't think they were drastic enough to make carrying 9 volts around a practical thing.
I don't know. That's an interesting point.
Well, the project's doing all right. It's got 1,399 backers at this point, 21 days left to go in the campaign, and they've already raised $35,217 of their $30,000 goal. So it's definitely happening. If this is a project that you like, we'll have a link in the show notes for you to check it out, and you have plenty of time to jump on and back this one. They're currently asking, let's see, $15 Australian to get in on backing one of these, which amounts to about $16.99 American.
Jeez.
So that's that. That's our tech toys for this weekend, or for tonight anyway. Which moves us into our discussion topic for the evening. And this is kind of an interesting discussion topic that I'm kind of looking forward to hearing your opinion on this one. Have you been following a lot of the net neutrality arguments and discussions, Eric?
Kind of. It just, to me, there's a lot of people who make a lot of sense and who are trying to make the world better, and then there are a bunch of people who already have made their money and want to be jerks and screw the internet up.
And this story falls into the second category there. The story we're looking at today is from The Verge, and it's about Mark Cuban. He is a billionaire who originally made his money thanks to a sports website that he got started early on the internet. He has since made his money through a number of different means. He owns the Dallas Mavericks. He owns Magnolia Pictures. What else? Let's see. He apparently is looking to buy a baseball team, which is news to me, but
owning sports teams is great if you want to, pay less taxes.
Yeah, they're a huge tax break. Then they bring in a decent amount of money. I mean, as long as the team is run well underneath you. But yeah. So anyway, he's a fat cat, has a lot of money, and he started his career on taking advantage of the early days of the internet. He started a website called broadcast.com, and it was a website that basically helped people find where games were being broadcast, if I remember correctly. No, I take that back. I'm totally misspeaking. Broadcast.com was an internet radio company, and it allowed people to broadcast early days before there was the shoutcasts and the other internet radio sources. And it became a big popular website, attracting tons of traffic in the early days of the internet, and was later sold to Yahoo in April of 1989 for $5.7 billion. So, boom. Mark Cuban was now a billionaire. Don't we all wish we had that problem? That being said, now the controversy is that after Mark Cuban made his money, he is now pushing for the internet fast lanes. So not for the net neutrality and the Title II concept that President Obama recently came out in support of, but is instead suggesting that commercially we should support the internet fast lane concept, that businesses should be able to pay for priority on the internet. And I mean, the TLDR of this story is that the internet has decided Mark Cuban is a jerk, even more so than just being a rich guy, but now because he is taking the money he made off of the internet being free and open and neutral and wanting to turn around and shut that down and lock it out. So that way new players trying to start their own broadcast.com wouldn't have that opportunity because they wouldn't have the money to buy into the fast lanes. Mark Cuban's business would never have worked if he was in competition with Clear Channel, for example, to broadcast online. If he had to pay billions of dollars or millions of dollars, whatever the price structure would be, to have his traffic broadcast across the internet at the same speed as Clear Channel's, it's not money he's likely to have as a startup. What do you think of all this? I mean, do you think the idea of Title II, where everything's treated as a phone company and it's a service, is the right way to go, or do you think maybe we haven't found the right answer yet?
I think that common carrier laws is the closest we've gotten so far to finding a solution. A lot of companies don't want to do that because it makes it much more difficult to make money. It also makes it much more difficult to do certain things such as traffic shaping, such as trying to coerce companies into paying extra for priority peering, like Netflix has been having to do. It also makes some things problematic. The idea of some QoS and shaping on the internet has made some things better, like your video game and streaming media often gets prioritized over little traffic that can wait a millisecond. But other than basic QoS, there's nothing good can be had from having the fast lane concept. And I think the idea of allowing big companies to stay entrenched and muscle up little guys is the exact opposite of where most of these internet billionaires have come from. You know, the idea that the internet and that computers as general could be a market and anyone who was skilled and passionate about could break into has been a common theme. I mean, we've always heard about the garage programmer or the garage engineer who builds something interesting because he has a passion for it, and then he goes to make money doing so, and make a lot of people's lives happier or better or whatever. And we've seen it time and time again, and most of the biggest, best websites in the world started out as nothings run on commodity hardware in someone's basement. And the idea that we should cut that off simply so these entrenched companies can get priority is bogus. What they want is what these companies want is so someone can't come along and one-up them with a company that costs nothing to run.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think that there's a certain amount of being scared of someone doing what they did because, like you said, anybody who is passionate enough and dedicated enough can launch a successful company thanks to the internet. And part of that is that it's neutral. Nobody has any advantage over another. There's priority for types of packets, like our video and data packets are prioritized over just standard HTTP packets because if they don't get there fast enough, there's a degradation of quality. But in general, the one HTTP request is not more important than another HTTP request. across the internet as a whole. And because of that, I can tomorrow, or hey, today, let's start a business. My my little podcast, Tech Twice Weekly, is just as relevant and important on the scheme of things to the internet as CNN. So I don't know. It's interesting to me to see people who have. It's one thing to see people who don't understand how the internet works make an argument against one way or the other for setting things up. It's another to see someone who actually has an internet background come out and want to see fast lanes become a thing. That's the part of the story that bothers me with Mark Cuban, is that in theory, he knows something about the internet and the way it's supposed to function, and to see somebody support breaking that is what bothers me.
He's a jackass. My
I think
personal opinion, not that of Tech Twice Weekly Incorporated.
no, that's fair. I think that's a I'll back that up as Tech Twice Weekly. That is that's the opinion of the company, stamped and delivered.
I just, today.
Mark Cuban, I'm not above a bribe. I'm happy to change it.
So next week he'll have $5,000 in his pocket and he'll be pro fast lanes. Yeah, he's not repeating that. But the idea that the internet can be for anyone is more relevant today than it ever has been. Being able to buy into Amazon's web services and being able to buy commodity hardware that really rocks, being able to use and leverage open source and free software to build systems that are intricate and that can offer intricate services has been never been easier to do so than it is today. That is cost-wise and capability-wise. And we're going to see small companies become something right and left for a long time until fast lanes are implemented. If so, we will see small companies being washed under the rug because they can't even get the bandwidth to host their website. And big companies will come along and dump money onto ISPs, making some other board member richer. Honestly, I think that Title II and Title II Common Carrier is just another way to keep the internet as free as the press and as free as our speech. And what Fastlanes will do is they will limit that. They will make it so only the people with the money can speak on the internet. Only the people with the money can have what they want on the internet available at a reasonable performance. And I think that's morally wrong. And anyone who is for it is wrong. Not that they're incorrect or that somehow their idea is worse. I think that their idea is wrong.
I have to agree, because it's not just a matter at this point of business competition. It's a matter of limiting the development of others and restricting innovation to put in fast lanes.
And if we had ISPs that could compete against each other, and I could choose an ISP that had said, we're not going to give into this mumbo jumbo, we are going to deliver all your content as quick as our lines will carry it, with respect to your neighbors, with no prioritization. We're not going to strong-arm people into paying extra money to peer with us. We're going to be your internet provider. You're going to pay us. We're going to provide you a service, and that's the end of that story. Get it how you want it. I want my internet like I want my Burger King. But seriously. But we can't. There's almost no competition with internet in the United States. And so we're strong-armed into who we can get our internet from, and then we're strong-armed into what we can even view on it. I remember before Comcast's latest peering agreement and huge paycheck to Comcast, I couldn't get an HD stream on Netflix. Couldn't. And even the standard definition streams would scale down to like a blocky JPEG mess. And it's not because they didn't have the bandwidth or the capability, not because Comcast didn't, because Comcast wanted money.
Yep. And the only way to improve your situation was by giving your money to them.
Right, which also this means that Netflix now has less money to buy contracts with to host more content. And people complain about Netflix raising their prices. Netflix was not happy about raising all their prices. And people complained, and Netflix said we don't really have a choice. We are basically leasing these contracts to show you guys material. And now we're having to pay just to get to your door at the rate you would expect. This is seriously, the Netflix is showing us what it's like to be in the world of fast lanes. And we have seen it has been not good for us. And if it's not good for the consumer, it's not good at all. And every single person out there should get their head out of their behind and demand either improve the situation and find a better way to do it that's consumer friendly and consumer focused, or give us common carrier.
Yeah, no, I think that sums it up really right there. And I don't feel that common carrier is the best answer. I think really the best answer would be for the government to write new regulations that actually address the internet, but it isn't going to happen. Just being realistic, that's not the government position we have right now. And I think of the options that are realistically available, Title II, common carrier, is the best one on the market.
I completely agree. I'd love if we could put our heads together, get some real science up in here, and get a really good idea on the legislation and how it would all work and what it would mean for the consumer, what it would mean for companies, and try and figure out the best possible way. That's not going to happen because everyone who isn't arguing for common carrier is arguing for fast lanes. So if the best that you and I can get as consumers is common carrier, then fine. And I'm of the opinion that ISPs need to be forced to compete so other companies can roll in lines as well. And also that the government stops bending over backwards for these ISPs and their lobbyists, because I'm really tired of seeing the internet in the United States go to garbage when many other developed nations around the world are finally waking up to the fact that the internet has to be available, has to be open, it has to be fast enough that we can get work done and enjoy our lives. The internet is no longer a niche market. It's something that we all need to have access to. And I'm tired of being charged huge absorption amounts for almost nothing. Like, look at your dang cell phones, man. The data caps on cell phones and the data price is excessive. Even the cheapest, most pocket-friendly plans are excessive. I'm just tired of it. Sorry.
No, I think you're completely correct. I think that's, at the end of the day, that's where it sits. And, well, I hope that it goes that way. I think public opinion is pushing that way. I just hope the government actually listens to public opinion. But on that note, I'm going to go ahead and draw tonight's show to a close because we're going a little bit long. It's good, though. We had a good discussion. I'm glad we got a chance to hash that out. But that being said, anything you want to share with people before we get out of here for the night, Eric?
The only thing I want to say is that that Kickstarter for a 9-volt charger's got 32 grand. But my buddy's really awesome fantasy game, Cleodonia, has barely broken 1,000. It's only a week to go. If you like tabletop gaming, if you like pen and paper RPGs, Cleodonia, Kickstarter, Cleadonia. Check it out. The guy is asking very little money for a digital copy of the book. There is a downloadable adventure you can play for free. It's a link right in the project. And it's a really, really cool game. Really awesome developer. Awesome game developer. Go check it out.
Definitely, and I'm going to stick another link to that in our show notes, so that'll be on the website at techtwiceweekly.com. Make it real easy for you guys to get over there and check out that project. All right, well, thank you for joining me again, Eric. We'll go ahead and get out of here. On Twitter, you can reach us at TechTwiceWeekly. Like I said, the website, techtwiceweekly.com. We've got the RSS feed up there, links to iTunes, links to Stitcher, Blueberry, all the popular podcast directories. And you can also email us, feedback at techtwiceweekly.com. Love to hear from you. Otherwise, programming note, we will not have a show Thursday. Had another scheduling conflict. I apologize, but we'll be back next Monday with another great feature-packed show, story-packed show. So, have a good night, everybody. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you next Monday.